Hello, this is Rob, one of the founders of Developer. Michael's going to have his little piece to say in a second, but I just want to say thank you so much, as this is episode 900. That's 900. There are dozens and hundreds and probably thousands, even millions of podcasts that don't even get close to this. Thank you so much for your time, for your patience, for putting up with us, for seeing us evolve from episode 1 to episode 900, season essentially 0 to now we're in season 25, and we're not done yet. But I do want to just celebrate for a second this achievement and say thank you, because you guys have been hanging out and made it possible.
Hey everyone, this is Michael. Hey, again, like Rob said, this is episode 900. We are so grateful for all of you that have been following us all these years and listening to us rant and rave about all things developers, how to help you become a better developer, better entrepreneur. We can't express how grateful we are. And again, please continue to follow us. We're not going anywhere. And enjoyed this episode.
But there we go, because we have to hit record. So there, we virtually hit record. And now let's see, offer ideas for a podcast episode for Developerpreneur. Okay, building better. I will say that I'm not going to say who did it, but I know somebody that was recently doing some ChatGPT posts or discussions and dramatically misspelled or meaningfully misspelled a word, and ChatGPT actually called them on it, and it was like, I think you mean this, and then totally corrected and was like, okay, here's where we need to go with the conversation. I was like, damn, that's pretty good. So it's like, okay, for a podcast episode with this as the title. And we're going to do building a strong developer toolkit, enhancing skills and productivity. Let's see. So yeah, come back with here's some engaging episode structure and content ideas. So let's see if this is going to give me what I sort of want. Yeah, it's funny how it goes. Yeah, it goes back and forth. Sometimes it gives me like a 10-point thing. This one is giving me looks like a 6-point thing. So let me turn it into the Slack-a-mole here. Gosh, that's a good little thing. I got to figure out a meaning for that.
What, Slack-a-mole?
Slack-a-mole. I just made that word up. I'm like, dang, I should copyright it and find out a meaning for it. Right. Okay, so let's see. Am I good enough? Let me try a little more light just in case.
You need to take this assessment down.
What? Why? Can I start it? What did you do? Did you register? Why did it not go the first time? Interesting. Scroll down. All the way down. Get us retake assessment. There you go. So that's assessment. Huh.
So
that you registered. Uh-huh. All right. I gotta look at that.
Well, since we caught some of that on the pre-show, you want to talk about some of your exciting news there?
Yeah, I think since we got that, let me check that real quick while I'm doing this and see if I can reproduce that. So we have had I've been working on this for a bit. And it's going to be, you can catch it by the time this comes out, because I will probably have reset it and then do it again. You can, let me make sure I've got an email address that makes sense. as I'm doing this. This would be Rob Tester. I've got an assessment tool that I have built. Oh, shoot, I've used that one before. And it's an interview kind of process that is built off of some of the stuff that we talk about all the time here and then throughout. I've talked about it a lot through the developer articles over the years, but we've also done it through Harvey Consulting posts, LinkedIn posts, stuff like that. And so let me see if I can do this. Oh, interesting. It does not like. Huh, okay. Got to fix that. So it's going to come down, but it's going to be back up at some point. I'm not shutting it down for a while. Don't worry. So the thing is, you go through and you got some interview. It goes through a bunch of interview questions. A lot of it's stuff that we're going to typically ask in an assessment when we go through things. And then it kicks out. There's like 5 or 6. I forget I think it's 6 different endpoints you can get to, basically, that sort of says, well, here's roughly where you are. Because what we tried to do is say, like, let's take some commonalities as far as where people are and the direction they're going to want to go after an assessment. So there's things like, maybe that it's like completely green sky, green field, blue sky, starting from scratch or something like that, however you want to list it, where it's wide open. It's like, all right, well, you're not tied to anything. You're not bogged down. We can build whatever needs to be built to support your company, to make your business as successful as possible. Or maybe something on the other end where you're like, you've got huge investment in people and systems and software, and you want to do better because that's the whole reason you're doing this. But you're limited essentially in what you can do because you've already gone pretty far down the road. And so there it's like, all right, well, then what do we do? And this goes back to the whole idea of simplification and integration and automation and innovation, and where do those fit in and where are they most likely to fit in? And then we have some steps of like, okay, if you're here, here's some things you should do. And of course, we include that, like, feel free to talk to us because we'd be more than happy to like walk you through these things in detail. But if you just want to spend a few minutes and like, and it's probably, I don't know, 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, depending on how you do it. You can go through this, you get a nice little report back, and we'll tell you sort of like, hey, here's some, some next steps and things like that. Happy for all you guys to check it out because we are, launching it as of today, I guess, actually today plus one probably, because I got to go fix a couple things on it apparently. But other than that, then we're going to get this launched and get that out there so we can just get more people looking at what they've got. Even if you don't want to spend the time with somebody else or bring in a consultant, at least you can do this and hopefully help you build your roadmap better. And this is version, alpha version or beta version. So we will be adding more information. There'll probably be, I think the next step that will be coming will be like PDFs of some sort that's sort of like, hey, here's a nice little 1 or 2 pager of this is some of the things you need to do. This is some of the places you can reach out for more information, things of that nature. So this ad brought to you by RB Consulting, of which you may know I happen to be the founder. So I have been completely sidetracked by one of my staff, very important member of my staff, but nevertheless one of my staff. So let's get back to doing this podcast. So we're going to dive right into it. I've got your stuff. I threw that in too, so you should be able to see it in Slack so you can follow along and you can play along at home. I have no idea what I'm going to cover today. I've got to think about like good thing, bad thing. So this will be totally improvised in my world famous now. Tres, dos, uno. Hola, and welcome back to Building Better Developers, Developer Podcast. We are here continuing our season where we are doing it with AI. Got a couple seasons back. We had a whole lot of information around developers and how you become a better developer, some of the things you're going to run into. And now we're taking the same topics and we're putting it into AI. And then whatever it kicks back out, we're talking about its suggestions. And so far, there's been a lot of really good ones. It's allowed us to have some really good conversations. Before we get to that, I need to introduce myself. My name is Rob Broadhead. I am one of the founders of Developer, also the founder of RB Consulting, where we are what is known as a boutique consulting company, also sometimes known as a fractional CTO or CIO. What we do is we sit down with you talk about your business, help you understand your processes, define those processes, improve those processes through simplification, integration, automation, innovation. Basically, we find ways to help you leverage technology to do your business better. We help you, whether it's just guiding you and saying, hey, here's a roadmap, go execute it. Or on the other end, if it's something where you're just like, I don't even know how to get started, we'll walk you through the roadmap. We'll help you find the right people, the right tools, or help you build the things that you need to get it done. Our goal is just to help you find better ways to make the most out of that most impressive and large investment that you have, which is always going to be in technology. Like a lot of times it feels like it's right behind your investment in people. Good thing, bad thing. Let's see. This is a tough one because, as I was saying right beforehand, I'm totally trying to think of what's going on. It's been a very busy time, so that is in itself a good thing and a bad thing. This is interesting. So I'm going to take the bad side of it. The bad side is that the working in my business has like petered down a little bit. So instead of having to spend insane amount of hours, get all these projects done and doing all this work, the actual overall need has lowered. But as part of that, now that is like, this is the time, and you got to strike while the iron's hot. This is where I have to work on my business. And so it feels like when I'm working on my business, I even work more hours when I'm working in my business. Because when you're working on your business, there's like a budget and some things like that. When you're working on your business, you go until you collapse. So the good thing is I'm able to do that. It's something that's been wearing on me for a long time. We talk about doing that. And too much of that, I can't get it done in 15 minutes a day. So, now I'm paying the price for that a little bit and trying to catch up. But I'm feeling good that it is getting caught up. You can check out our updated RB website, rb-sns.com. Check that out. We've got updates and things like that. We're playing around with that, making that a little more appealing and bringing it into this century. It's really this decade because we had, it started to age a little bit. And that's like we mention all the time, check your stuff out, do some periodic updates. And we just happen to go through. Something else you should check out and do a periodic update on is my co-host, who's going to go ahead and introduce himself.
Hey everyone, my name is Michael Meloche. I'm one of the co-founders of Building Better Developers, also known as Developer Nerd. I'm also the owner and founder of a company called Envision QA, where we help startups and growing businesses build software that works the way it's supposed to work and from day one. You've probably heard stories about software projects going over budget, launching late, or breaking once users get their hand on it. That's where we come in. At Envision QA, we make sure your products are tested, stable, and ready for your customers. We handle all the behind-the-scenes quality assurance checks and support development so that you can launch faster, avoid costly mistakes, and protect your reputation. In short, we help you build software that doesn't break your business. You can learn more at envisionqa.com. Check out the website. We have a contact us page where you can schedule a free 30-minute consultation. So check it out. Don't have anything to lose, but faster, better, and more improved software. Good thing, bad thing. I'll start with the bad thing. I don't know what I did, but the last day or two, I am limping now. My right knee is absolutely killing me. I thought I had tweaked it, but now I'm thinking I walked into something somewhere and don't remember. Getting old. And now it's like just the remnants of, hey, you hit a tendon in your knee. It's going to be a pain to walk for a few days. Good thing, maybe. We're hopefully at the end of this heat wave and we're supposed to get some normal temperatures again and possibly some rain tonight. So we've had some blistering temperatures, heat index over 105, and it's just been miserable. I'll pass that.
We have also had that, and I am looking forward to the fall and some of the rain to bring our temperatures down here a little bit. That is just it's a little too hot for my taste. So this episode we are doing the Building a Strong Developer Toolkit, Enhancing Skills and Productivity title originally, and it kicks back and it says, hey, it doesn't even just dives right into it. Episode hook/intro. Start with a story. Imagine a carpenter showing up without their hammer. Developers often make the same mistake when they ignore the importance of their toolkit. Define what a developer toolkit really means. It's not just IDEs and frameworks, but also habits, mindset, and learning strategies, which is interesting because I think we did cover a lot of that in our original one. Core segments. So the first one, the essentials of a developer toolkit. Version control, Git, GitHub, GitLab, why it's non-negotiable. IDEs and text editors discuss Visual Studio Code, IntelliJ, Vim, and how to choose. Package managers, NPM, pip, composer, yada, yada, yada. Debugging tools and linters, Postman, browser dev tools, ESLint, PyLint. So starting with that, I hope this is one of those, I don't know why it triggered me. I hope that you are on Git of some sort, whether it's what was it? Source tree, which was Bitbucket, GitHub, something like that. If you're still working on like SVN or RCS or Source Safe or some of those things of the old school, just move it. Get your stuff off of that and get into a modern version control tool. I've definitely dealt with more than a couple of customers in recent years that are still on these very, old version control tools. Yes, they work, but there are ways to migrate those, and even with the history in a lot of cases, into get something that is much more friendly to all of the modern tools out there. Even if you're using some ancient technology, unless their IDE hasn't been touched in 15 years, you're probably going to get better integrations with a Git tool. Particularly, I've just found, I hate it feels like a commercial for it, but GitHub is just too easy. It's just really the way it's been set up. It's way too easy to use. It's got all the things you need. Yes, you got to watch out if you can start costing you money depending on how you configure your GitHub stuff, but definitely worth a look into. IDEs and text editors, find the one that works for you. We've talked about this more than a few times, is find something. The tools that work for you are the ones that are going to work the best. The ones that you use are the ones that are going to work the best. So, sometimes, yes, you're going to be in a corporation company where you're basically dictated what you need to do, but for your own projects, play around, check this different stuff out. You can avoid VI, Vim, Emacs, you can avoid those things. But the modern IDs, definitely there's a lot of good and bad in all of them, and find the ones you can do. I will always say, I think, because it talks about debugging tools and linters, the first thing you need to be able to do in your IDE is play around with your debugger, whatever it is that it provides. If it doesn't provide one, move on to something else. Because if you can't walk through your code and do some good debugging, then you're going to find yourself, behind the eight ball, basically, as far as productivity is concerned. I push this for everybody on my team. I talk about this in all of the projects that we always do. And whenever I bring anything new, if we're bringing up a new project or bringing in a new project, the first thing is we want to be able to compile it, build it, deploy it, and put a debugger on it. Those are the things that I find are like very key tools. If you ain't got that, then you're in trouble. Where do you want to go on this one?
So there's a couple other things that we didn't really touch on with this list so far, but things like SonarQube, where you can have tools that will actually like check out your code and check the quality of your code. Linters are super important because, especially if you're using like version control and you have multiple people on a team compiling and writing code and pushing it up to GitHub, the linters will help you all stay on the same page, so you don't have one person committing code one way, next person formats it in their environment another way, and then it's one line of code change looks like they've changed the whole file. It is one of the biggest pet peeves I have when people commit code if they don't follow your coding standards within your organization, because the linter, it can be a very simple, hey, I made one word change, to, hey, I made a whole file change. Why did you make a file change? So be respectful of your peers and use linter tools. They are there for a reason, and most of them are free. I did mention SonarQube. SonarQube is great for code quality. Basically, it's a sanity check. There are other ones out there, but Sonar's kind of like the most well-known. It's very good at scanning your code once you commit it to tell you that, hey, you got defects. Maybe there's some security warnings and things you need to be cautious about within the language you're working on. Some other things, like speaking of security, so like if you're dealing with HIPAA or Sarbanes-Oxley, there are other tools and things out there that you can't, like OWASP. Basically, they are security checks of your software. Again, some of them are paid, some of them are free, run them against your software, have them analyze your code, and a lot of times they'll check like your packages and your dependencies and say, hey, this has a vulnerability check. You might want to see if there's a newer version, or hey, here's some ways on how to fix that. Those are just some of the additional things I'd like to throw into this category here.
Yeah, I think static linters static code analysis in general is huge. That's going to help you quite a bit, and it will help you learn the language better, particularly if you've got, which is most modern languages, whether you're doing like React apps or Python or Java or C Sharp. Um, there's so many things that are going on in these languages that having those static code analysis tools that will help you stay abreast of whatever is the recommended approach with your language version is going to help you quite a bit. It's really good also if you're bouncing in languages, if you're going from like a modern version, but you got to now also do another project that's a couple version back. It will help catch like where you're doing something that's now been deprecated, or where you're doing, you did something in the old way, but there's a newer, better way. A lot of times static code analysis will pick those up. Beyond code, skills that boost productivity, problem solving frameworks, breaking down requirements, communication and documentation skills, writing better commit messages in docs, time management and focus techniques, Pomodoro, task batching, flow state. This is one of the things where I see a difference between a coder versus a developer. I think that once we start moving away from it's all about the code basically, and it's actually more about problem solving, and it's about problem solving in a fast, efficient, and high quality way, then that's where you're starting to become really getting into that, we'll call it that developer mindset. And that's a lot of what we talked about here. We definitely have mentioned Pomodoro many, many times, is like finding ways to be able to focus, finding ways to get that time where you're not trying to, multitask, but you're able to single focus, get that laser-like focus, get the problem solved, and move forward instead of getting distracted, which is also goes into things like comments and documentation and things like that. Because as we talk about, sometimes your distraction is that you put that project down and you don't come back for 3 months. And you look at it and go, what the heck is this? Where is this coming from? I don't remember what I was doing. And if you're documenting and putting code commits, particularly if you get messages that are solid in your code commits, that should help you rebuild the thought process, or another developer when they pick that up. So I think those are some core skills that are beyond just writing code to get you started. What are some that you'd like to throw out there?
Yeah, since we kind of talked about GitHub in the first one, with this one here, I totally agree about the problem solving frameworks, and as you become a better problem solver, you kind of leave that coder mindset behind. You move into that developer mindset. Interestingly enough, as you build these skills, as you get better at writing your software, you want to document use cases, user scenarios, test-driven development, writing unit tests are very good ways for you to build up that documentation. If you can figure out how to write user stories, that is great for communication, because you can communicate that back to the business. This is how the software is going to work from the use case, from the user's perspective. Documentation isn't just about comments. You can even write markdown languages or README files within your code set so that you can tell yourself or even developers later, hey, this is how the code works. This is how you compile it. This is how you run it. Things that you take for granted now are going to be critical 6 months, a year from now, or 15 years from now when you have to touch the code again. The other thing, too, is there are tools that are out there that can actually take that markdown language or those comments that are in your code and generate nice wikis around that. API docs is a good one that comes to mind. You can write in Markdown, and it generates a nice kind of web page format for your documentation. A lot of languages have their own variations of like Java docs or some type of docs that will generate their documentation. A lot of them are proprietary. Look for something that's generic that you can use for anything. Again, Markdown is pretty standard across the slate. And time management techniques, I love that. Pomodoro, task batching, flow state. Don't forget your trusty little note cards. Make your lists, make sure you follow them, and stay on task.
So then the next one it goes into is expanding the toolkit with soft skills. So 3 bullet points here: emotional intelligence when working on a team, negotiating requirements and saying no politely, mentorship and knowledge sharing as a productivity booster. So all three of these are, again, these are like your next step up, and definitely what you grow you into being a developer more than just a coder. Um, we've talked a lot about the team dynamics, and a lot of it does go back to, like, we were all creatives in a way. I don't think a lot of us think of that, but if you're a developer, you're creative, and then that means that, as all creatives do, they have a tie to the things they created. It's like, it's your baby, and you don't like it. You don't like people throwing shade on your baby. You also, like to protect it and all that kind of stuff. But that's not really what it needs to be. Is that you want to grow into this being a team effort and everybody being a part of it. So, brainstorming and some of those things that typically are part of uh, organizations and things like that, and all the stress that is involved. The more you can avoid that, reduce it, diffuse it, the better the team's going to work. People don't need to be stressed out. They don't need to be ticked off or anything like that. Are you going to be? Yes. Is it suck when you're in the middle of a death march or something like that? Yes. But whatever you can do to ease that stress and such things will help your team out. Um, Saying no politely, I think, goes back to a couple of episodes back where we talked about scope creep. I think it is it's more than polite. It's just saying no in general, because I think way too often we get into something where we want to impress our boss, or we're scared that if we say no to the customer, they're just going to like pull the plug on the project or things like that. Is that it's not just saying it politely, it's just having a reason for saying no. It's like, if there's, and it sort of is sometimes going to be counter to it, they need to have a reason for saying yes. If they say, hey, we want this feature, then they should have a reason for it. And it doesn't mean that you, like, beat them up and try to place devil's advocate everywhere, but you just want them to have a good reason. Say, okay, that sounds like a good enough reason. We can go forward. If they don't, then that's where you also need to be able to say, you know what? I don't know that we need this, and here's the reason why. It's like we're over budget already, or that's going to take a lot of time, or it's going to take cost, or it's going to disrupt all the test flow, or whatever the reason is, that needs to be part of. So it's not just being polite in your nose and even your yeses, but it's like being measured in doing so, so that your customer can, builds their trust in you. That's like, hey, they're not just shooting from the hip. If you're going to shoot from the hip, say, hey, that shot needs to be, hey, I'm not really clear on that. I'll get back to you later. And I tell you, that is probably one of the best things that I learned early on in consulting, was that there are times where, yes, it's nice to be able to give an answer, but it's also much more effective sometimes to say, you know what, I'm going to take a look at that. We're going to research it. We're going to get back to you. It just makes them feel that much better. The last one I'm going to throw out just real quick is mentorship and knowledge sharing. Is you will learn stuff so much more if you're teaching somebody else than if you just learn it for yourself. That's just one of the things I've found. So it is definitely a gift that keeps on giving, as it were. Your thoughts on those bullet points?
Yeah, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about the emotional intelligence and negotiating requirements and saying no. All three of these bullet points kind of work well together. Emotional intelligence when working on a team, it's always good to try and take a pulse check of not just yourself but of your team. How are meetings going? How is the project going? Are you on a deadline? Is everyone crunch? Is someone having a bad day, or things going on outside of the office? Sometimes, especially for those more senior or even managers, you need to understand what's going on with your team. How are they interacting? How are the players moving? Because if one person is down, unintentionally, they could bring everyone else down, because either they're not able to complete their work on time and that work's falling to other people to get done. But sometimes it's not a fault of their own. It's just circumstances are what they are, and they get stuck. We all hit walls or we hit blockers, and sometimes we have to walk away or do something else before we can come back to it. Negotiating requirements and saying no politely. I think it was like Tim Ferriss, 4-Hour Work Week years ago, was basically like, just say no to everything. If you are not good at saying no, schedule a day or two and just say no to everything. Like no to meetings, no to calls. Just do it politely, but do a day or two of that and just say no to everything and see how people react. Figure out how to curtail it. The more you can politely say no, or kind of handle negative situations and say, hey, we need to stop, time out, let's take a break. That's a very good negotiating skill, especially when dealing with requirements. And lastly, the mentorship and knowledge sharing. Think like geek drinks, coffee breaks. Even in a virtual world, you can have coffee breaks, mentorship, knowledge sharing through video chats. You can take 15 minutes a day and say, hey, throw the team on there. Hey, anyone have a good idea? Anyone learn anything new today? If you have larger topics, schedule like geek drinks, like an hour later in the day. Maybe you have coffee again, or hey, maybe you have a beverage of your choice. Or if it is a more formal training, like, hey, let's go into a demo. Let's go through and like look at how to use this product or something new that would benefit the whole team. Schedule like a 1 or 2 hour lunch and learn, and have everyone in. If you're remote, hey, managers, get like a Grubhub card or something, send it out to your team, like what we used to have Pizza Fridays and whatnot. Everyone gets their food, you sit down, you kind of have good times, and everyone kind of shares in the knowledge and learn something new.
We'll go quick through this last one just on for time considerations. Continuous learning, and this is why I want to make sure we get this in there, the ultimate tool. Curating a learning pipeline, blogs, podcasts, newsletters, courses, using AI tools like ChatGPT Copilot effectively without becoming dependent, building personal projects, or contributing to open source as a practice. I'm going to dive in because I have been in different sides of the AI discussion for quite a while. Early on, and I do definitely see it in many cases where it is a crutch, and I think that's your biggest danger is that you get into some of these AI tools, Copilot and such, that basically just let it write your code and you just sort of figure it out, from there, as opposed to being very intentional on where you pick it up. So a lot of times I find the best things to do, the best use of those kinds of things, the AI tools, is where you know what the solution is. You could do it. It's going to take you time. And so when you do that, you can do the direction of AI to a level that's going to help you out, that's going to be able to give you a solution that's pretty solid. Yeah, sometimes you're going to have to do a little reining it in and things like that. But I think that I found that is definitely the best way. If I don't know what if I really am not sure where I'm going with this thing and I try to have AI help me, it's probably not going to help me very much. It's actually probably going to cost me more time than it's not. But if I've got something very focused, where I'm like, okay, this is what I know I'm going to do. Here's the steps, and I can lay it out. Much like anything else, if you can really tighten down your requirements and tell somebody, here's what I need, they're more likely to give you a good response. And AI is just like that. And if you don't understand what you're doing, if you don't understand the problem you're solving, you're going to end up solving a completely different problem. You're going to have a great solution that is absolutely useless because it's not doing what it should have done. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so I'm going to take this one, learning pipelines, hey, developer, but also look for things like mentorships. Look for people that can teach you. If you have a friend or someone at work that knows a particular skill or technology that you want to learn, and they're open to sharing it with you, hey, schedule some time with them. Take them out to eat. It's really good to pair up with someone and even maybe get a mentor to help you learn something new. And with that, I beat this horse dead all the time. Building a personal project, kitchen sink apps are the number one way that developers can build a Swiss Army knife in any language that they want to learn, because you can build, basically you write your code for all the little things you want, you build your utilities, and then you can apply them to all the projects that are out there. You basically have a tried and true solution on how this works. Like if you're using like Kafka, some message queue, Redis, you write one little app that actually does the work, and then you can integrate that in. You just take your code. Hey, I've done this. Oh, okay, I need this in this project. You take it from here, put it in there. You already have your code. Hopefully you commented it, and then you just plug it in, plug and play, and go. It's kind of like AI, but you took the time to learn it yourself, so you already have something you can go to kind of pull out and apply elsewhere.
Yeah, your own personal code repository. We didn't really talk about that. Site. We've talked about in other cases. That is something that's very valuable to have, and it is. It's much like AI. It just happens to be your AI, your I, as opposed to somebody, some artificial version of it. And it can be much faster than even doing searches and other stuff because it's your code So you know it better, hopefully better than anybody else, and you can plug that right in wherever you need to do so. One of the things you can also do is you can shoot us an email, info@developaneur.com, and let us know what are some of the things the tools that you use, how do you get better, what are some of the other places like the alerting pipelines that you have and things like that, because we're always looking for ways to improve that. We've got tons of that stuff out on developaneur.com. We've got over 1,000 articles out there when you look at all the stuff out there. YouTube, we've got, I don't know, we're probably approaching 500 different things out there in the YouTube channel across all the different areas. I was just looking the other day because I was trying to build out a couple little links, and we've got some really cool stuff there. We've got some long series. I'd forgotten how much content had gone into a couple of the series, the training series that we've got, particularly in the world of SQL and Python and Django. We've got a whole bunch of stuff there that we've done. All of that is free right now until we decide that we want to somehow put that behind a paywall. So grab it while you can, basically. Leave us comments at any of those places. We'd love to hear. If you have any questions, we would love to help you out with it as well, because our goal is to help you become better developers, a la the title of this. That being said, it's time for us to wrap this up. So go out there and have yourself a great day, a great week, and we will talk to you next time. Bonus material. I'm going to say that I already gave my sales speech or whatever is my bonus material, so we don't go too long on this.
Yeah, I'll just throw an additional one out along with the kitchen sink app. Look at we've talked about automation before. A great way to build your skills is look at what you're doing, look at your general tasks, find ways to automate that, find ways to write scripts or just change up your processes. Constantly do that. And heck, if you again figure out how to automate something, put it into that kitchen sink app, and you now have the example for something else that you run into similar in the future.
I will add to that because I lied. I do have a little bit more. Just because that triggered some thoughts on that. Automation is such a key to your side hustle. I don't know how often, and it's like your kitchen sink stats, your proofs of concepts, or those kinds of your MVPs, those things that you build. It's amazing how often those things are going to come back up. There are tools that I've written now dozens of times. I've written and rewritten and advanced and done all this stuff with them because they started with like just some simple thing that I needed to automate. And the next thing I know, I was able to use that in another application. And then I was able to expand on that and I was able to enhance it. And then, you can grow some of these things into entire cornerstone products. And there are plenty of those out there that were, somebody just started with something small. And they kept building. And the next thing you know, it's a product that everybody wants a hold of. So highly recommend that. I also highly recommend that you go out there and enjoy your day. We appreciate all the time that you've given for us. And now we're going to give you some time back, but we are not done. We'll come back next episode. We are going to continue doing fun stuff with AI, and the hits will continue. The hilarity ensues as always. Have a great one. We appreciate you so much, and talk to you next time.